In this video, we are going to do an inspection and regrease of DMS 50mm coilovers. So first step is to remove the coilover, 21, 22, the two bolts here, and at the top the 3 12mm bolts for the top hat. So before I pull the shock of the car, I do two things. I mark the here on the side I put marks for the inserts to make sure I can put them back in the same position, and I don't spend time figuring out which position is the correct one. And the other thing I do, if I can get the light, is I measure where my bottom ring is, and I mark here, so here front left 80mm, so that when I'm gonna have to readjust the spring, if my car was already properly set, I'm going to be close to where I should be before I do my corner balancing. And now the next step is just to remove the pressure on the spring by undoing the rings here. So once you have released the pressure on the spring, so basically the spring should turn freely from the rings, you can go ahead and spray some PB blaster on the bottom nut here. So you will have to take a 19mm impact to remove this nut. There I go, my 19mm. Here we go, and the nut comes all the way. Okay, so once you have your nut removed here, now you have to slide the insert here out. So you can just push on the spring, get the whole thing to slide. If that doesn't work, you can tap on the top. Don't tap here on the adjuster, because there's a small ball bearing behind, they've told me, and that would damage it. So do not hit here, but you can, if you still have the top hat, just a small work on the top hat, and you see the insert slides out like this. And after that, you go on your clean desk. So here I have the insert, and the bump stop is still in the bottom mount. Yes, the bump stop is at the bottom, so we need to, so you see there's not much grease left, and I need to push the bump stop back. On the first shock it came with the insert. If it doesn't come, you can just take a simple punch like this. You put the bottom mount down, and if you go inside there, the you will feel the bump stop sliding. So here it is. Here's the bump stop. So the bump stop has a shape. You see there's a flat shape that is at the top, and the tapered shape is at the bottom. So when you will reinsert it, make sure the tapered shape goes at the bottom. Okay, so first things to do is to clean everything. Remove all the old grease. So can clean the bump stop, inspect it, make sure it's not damaged. You can clean the insert too here. If you need to inspect the top hat and stuff, you can remove the top hat and inspect the top. Those ones have been removed not too long ago from the car, so I know there is no problem there. Then check that the compression still works. There is no leak or anything, no presence of oil. So the biggest part is cleaning up the inside of the mount here. So here there is not too much grease left. So I found this small, I don't know where that comes from. I had a tool that was left over, and I had this. there'll be a piece of pipe with this small plastic insert that is basically just slightly smaller than the size of the shock. And what I do is I take 2 sheets of blue towel like this. That's exactly the right size. I put it at the top of my thing here, and I go down inside the shock to try to collect most of the grease. So I do that in a circular motion. When I reach the bottom, I come back up, still turning. And here I get some of the old grease. Then I flip it around and do that the other way. So I do that multiple times until the inside of the mount is clean. So there is a seal at the top here, a small rubber seal that you can inspect. Though they were in good shape in my on my shocks because I'm running shock socks, sorry. So there are those things. For the DMS 50mm, it's the Shockware 30116501, and they get damaged after a while, but those ones have a full season and they are still in decent shape. They have some rips from the spring compressing, but basically they come around the spring like this and they protect the inside of the coilover from the debris and stuff, so that prevents too much crap from getting on that seal and trying to push it down and ripping the seal. So that's they are not cheap. It's like $35 for a pair, but it's really worth it if that can improve the life of your coilovers. If the seal at the top needs to be changed and it's damaged, I found those. They are called, the brand is Harwell, and it's 505804, which is the size of the seal on the DMS shock. And I guess you would need a press to put them in, but it's the same seal as this one here that is at the top. So you can buy them online. They are about $3 if you look for them, but the shipping is pretty expensive, so I just bought a stock of them so that I would pay shipping only once. And for the grease, I was recommended this Redline CV-2 by Grant at Rally.build to regrease the inside of the button mount. It's sold on Amazon. You can buy them a box, I mean one container like this, which is 14 ounces, should do the 4 corners without too many problems. So at the top you have that seal. If that seal is okay, you don't need to replace it. Just behind that seal there is a small groove there that will need to be filled with grease. Then you have that first dimpled bushing, you have a recessed area here in between, and then the second dimpled bushing over there. You need to fill with grease between those 2 bushings, so that whole area here needs to be filled with grease so that it becomes flush with the bushings. And just below that second bushing here, there's a small recessed area there, a small groove, a machine step. This has to be filled with grease too. But everything from this point, all the machine part at the bottom, so from that groove here to the bottom, no grease at all. At the bottom there is a hole for the breather hole that is going to be on this side to the left, just at the bottom of the shocks here. That can't have grease in it, otherwise I would fill the breather hole. So grease here, in between here and here, and just, and just after that second groove here at the bottom. in the middle. And that's about it for grease. So now we are going to start the grease process. So here to see what I'm going to do, I have this small shock light that you can get at Walmart for less than 20 bucks. I put the shock on top so they give me light through the hole at the bottom. I don't want any grease on my bump stop, so I wanted to isolate the grease from falling into the hole for the breather hole. So I take the tapered shape of the bump stop down, the flat part on top, and I'm gonna let my bump stop drop all the way to the bottom, and this way all the grease I'm gonna put at the top will not get to the bump stop. If you try to put the bump stop after, it will drag the grease on the side and push it to the bottom. So a trick that Dave gave me, I'm using that Redline CV-2, is to use one of those painter wooden stick, you know, to stir the and mix the paint. So just take that, and I start to apply it on the side between the two bushings. And once I have put my grease between the two bushings, I take the stirrer into a circular motion like this to scrape the excess grease to make sure it's flush. And I repeat like that, so the bottom groove in between the two bushings and the top groove below the seal. And I'll show you when it's all set. So here I have grease. So if you look very carefully at the top of the shock here, you have some laser etch marks here that are actually a reference point, so that when you put the shock in the insert in the bottom mount, there's a breather valve there. Usually it's close to setting 0 for the rebound. Those here have to be aligned with this, so that when you put the shock back in, your settings, especially for rebound, will be aligned with the marks here. So I'm ready to put things back together. I have my bump stop at the bottom of my bottom mount. It is greased. So here I'm looking for my etch marks here. The marks are here, I put them toward me. I take the spring, I put the spring first. Then I'm going to take the bottom mount. So the marks are still toward me. The bottom mount, the breather hole is here. I have to align it with those marks, so I'm going to put the breather hole towards me, like this. And then I go down. I make sure that the seal gets properly on the insert so that I don't damage the seal. I have my breather hole aligned here. Just push down and you can see the insert comes out here. After that, I just take my 19mm nut and I put it at the top. Then you take your 19 wrench. No need to go with an impact to tighten, so that you can see what you are gonna feel it. It's really not hard at all. And you will feel at the end, when it's almost flush here, you can just tighten it by hand like this. Doesn't need to be super tight. And you can see here how close the nut is from the top. And that's it. Now that the nut is back on, I just have to readjust my spring preload. So I had written down what the spacing was here, so I just had to retighten it to that, and my shock is going to be good to go back in the car. If you are missing the rubber boot that goes on the adjuster, one thing you can do is when you get the brake bleeders, you can buy so small rubber caps for brake bleeders, and they actually do fit over the adjuster. So they are a good replacement in case the original one is bad. And here you just push it on top and it fits pretty snugly on the you can see the result here. And that's a good alternative in case you can't source the original DMS part.